Hi, welcome to this video. This is in the series Foster Child Advocacy, and the topic of this video is the importance of positive words, positive affirmations, positive filling of a child's brain to rewire them from whatever trauma they've already been through that has put them in the foster care system or group home or facilities that are there to aid in their well-being. I saw a quote on Instagram on an account called Dad Talk Today, and I've seen it around the internet, but I first saw it on this account, and it says, "It is easier to build up a child than repair an adult." And so true. It is easier when a child is such a sponge and soaking up everything it's being taught and told to build up that child than to have to go backwards and rewire the system as an adult when so many habits and character formations and everything are in place. And so I also Google searched how many damaging words does a child hear daily, and it brought me to a website called championeers.com. It said kids hear over 400 negative words a day. Experts say it takes 7 positive words to counteract 1 negative. Words are the building blocks of self-image, self-worth, self-talk, and sabotaging mindsets. Words are to emotional health what DNA is to biology. Also said a single unkind word or event can change a child's perspective of themselves for the rest of their lives. Now, there's a lot of information on the internet. There's a lot more self-help and positive information that's available now that just wasn't when I was in the foster care system. So thank goodness for the internet for that, and for awareness that that people are bringing, to this cause to help these children who are at risk and who've just seen way too much in their early years. Things that children should not have to be exposed to as they're developing. I don't believe there could ever be enough good words and expressions of kindness that would completely repair the damage of a trauma-filled childhood, but the past can be shifted into mostly a good future with conscious effort. And as I was making notes for this video, I was thinking, what was said to me in childhood? What was one thing that that really has stuck out? And beggars can't be choosers was one that, as it's come up so many times in my life. Beggars can't be choosers. And what a negative statement, that is. And it's not so much a personality put down of a child, but it's a statement that ingrains in the brain of, I must be a beggar, I must be a beggar because I don't have choices. I don't have the ability to, have nice things, or, any negative connotation that brings up. That's one that just stayed with me for all these years, which is not true. So yeah, maybe give thought to something that was said to you in early years that you've carried with you that's just not true, and that you can release and replace with something more expanding of your consciousness and more caring to your soul. So I listed some things that might be helpful, and I'll just list them out here and do a little bit of explaining, why. With the words, identify emotions as they arise and help the child name what they feel. Put a word to their feelings and define it. So emotional identification is something that just wasn't, I don't think I ever heard anything like that. Even in the bit of therapy that I did have, and even in my 20s, emotional identification. It's so important to be able to know what you're feeling. I did have a therapist that told me that, well, Tina, you know, most people feel like this and think, you know, like this, and you're like up here and down here and over here, and then you go up, and then, you know, so that visual made me feel like, well, okay, so what does that mean? You know, I'm way up there and way down there. So it's just a range of emotions that I'm able to tap into that maybe another person doesn't. And so I carried that into thinking that I'm abnormal and I can feel deeply and I can feel high, and that's something that's bad about me. And it's not. It allows me to write poetry. It allows me to be an empath. It allows me to have compassion for, you know, for a lot of things in life that that these feelings wouldn't have provided. So, you know, identify the emotions that the child is feeling, help them name it, help them name the intensity of it, and how to manage it, how to be okay that, oh, what you're feeling now is anger, you know, because when you are violated violently as a child, you and if you can't fight back or defend yourself, at some point there's going to be anger that comes up. Anger at the violators, anger that you know, you were taken advantage of and you couldn't do anything to defend yourself. You go through a lot of emotions, and so being able to identify these for the child, put a name to them, put how to manage them. And as I have found in my own healing, that as things are addressed and addressed and addressed, the awareness of them, they become less intense. You know, of course, time would allow that, but conscious effort to work on, you know, what needs to be addressed to be able to have peace within yourself. It's so important, and the emotions are huge. So identify the emotions. Appreciation. Everybody wants to feel appreciated, and this is something I don't think I heard once in growing up. You know, I appreciate you, Tina. I appreciate your help around the house. I appreciate whatever. I don't believe I ever heard that. And if I did, it didn't stick. So words of appreciation, you know, just for existing. And that's something that, in my own experience, it was, I need to be doing, I need to be giving something or cleaning something or just doing something to have worth. And you are worthy just because you exist. I remember thinking, I just want to feel worth the air I breathe. You know, as a teenager, I felt that. I just want to feel worthy of the air that I breathe, like everybody else does. And how? So appreciation, you know, you appreciate their existence. And this can be said if you're just sitting there watching TV or eating dinner. Just look over at the kid and go, you know, I appreciate that you exist. That's huge. You appreciate the qualities that you see in them. And I wrote down even stubbornness and strong will can be appreciated. It shows fortitude of individuality and guide it in a healthy expression. I was more of an introvert, quiet child, and you know, I didn't like lash out and have like that strong-willed part in me naturally. So, you know, just appreciate the qualities that you do see in these children, and let them know it's like, you know, your stubbornness, your strong-willed stubbornness, it's a good quality to have, but you just need to know how to hone it and when to, you know, pull from it positively. that power of discernment, you know. Kindness, gentle, patient voices. You are rewiring this child from trauma. And when I say trauma, again, I can only speak of experience. And there are varying degrees of trauma, and what one calls traumatic, another might call discomfort. So, you know, I can only speak for myself when I'm talking in these videos, but kindness, you know, you're rewiring their brain away from self-protective survival mode into a place of ease and trust, you know, toward you and the environment. So trust is something that, it's a big word to me, and it is something that I have given to people that did not deserve it. So, you know, as you're guiding these children into a place of teaching them the ability to know who to trust, to feel it inside who to trust, is so important. And getting them into a place of peace within themselves is going to enable that calm place to be able to assess who feels good to their nervous system and who doesn't, which is something when you are stuck in survival mode, you just tolerate. You tolerate because you're able to, and that's how you learned to live. So kindness, gentle, patient voices, you know, teach them to get into their own calm. That's the place of power. Patience is another word I have written down here. So much patience is required to hold a safe space for all involved when a child is triggered. Physical and emotional safety are most important for everybody involved. And like I said, I was more of a introvert person and took my sorrow and my pain into tears. There are those who lash out and will be violent and aggressive. You know, patience is patience, but understanding the safety of everyone. That's just one that I wrote down, because when you can hold a safe space, when you can watch somebody, a wounded person, a wounded child, being triggered into what they have been conditioned to survive, when you can be witness to that and hold a safe space in patience for that child and guide them out of it, again, you're rewiring. You know, you can think of like this little human. It's been conditioned and wired into this, and you've got to like rewind it and teach and redirect. You know, things that have been instilled in them. They didn't get like the normal and whatever normal. I'm just saying, like, they didn't get the developmental stages that typically will grow like a fully functioning human, you know, into society of knowing boundaries, of knowing, you know, the power of discernment, who to trust, who not to trust. It's like these have been shaken so horribly in children of trauma that it just takes a lot of patience to be able to see where they're at and be able to hold space. And time, it's another word I wrote here. Time, replacement of the memories of abuse. It takes time. And just as they were adaptable to the abuse that they suffered and learned coping mechanisms to deal with it, it's going to take time to reinstate, rewire, teach the things that are our birthright, you know, joy, lightheartedness, peace, happiness, contentment, all these things that are our birthright might be confusing, you know, to these children of abuse. I know for me it was. I know that I had a conversation in my 30s with a coworker, and we both were saying how, happiness wasn't really a familiar feeling. Joy wasn't a familiar feeling. Melancholy, depression, sorrow, sadness, those were more familiar. And, I think about the inner child as now an adult. I have that inner child in me, that wounded little girl, to reparent, heal and be kind to, that didn't get the kindness as a young girl. So when you're working with these children, you're rewiring, you are restructuring what they've known, and it's just so important to remember, that things will take time, and there could be times of relapse, back into the coping survival mechanism, and you think you've not gotten anywhere, but again, you just reinforce and reinstate and keep the momentum of, this is for good. This is for good. All the good things that you're instilling and teaching, it's in there, and it just is going to take time to, to have it come out and to have it be something that you can see the results, and the results of both of your efforts. So that's ideally, anyway. Help the child have as normal existence as possible, as where they came from is anything but normal. And, again, normal, what is normal? But a place of severe abuse is not normal. Of even verbal and emotional abuse, it's not normal. So, again, it goes back to words and how important they are, and how just the little things that maybe a habit that was handed down to you that, you maybe make light of and you can just say it, but it has lasting impact. And I know in myself things that I have said in my life that I can go back and think, that served no good, that served no good, even though it might be the truth or trying to make light of the truth or something. Try to be aware of what good does this serve and come from that place as much as possible. There is an additional video portion to this video that was shot outside. So if you're interested in that, it's just right after this message. And thank you for watching this far if you have. If you would like to subscribe, that would be great. And I will put in the description below some links to organizations that do help with foster children. And if you would like to make a donation, that would be wonderful as well. So again, thanks for watching, and until next time. So this part of the video, I wanted to be outdoors and share something with you in thinking about what was a positive experience while I was in foster care. There was a home I lived, the last foster home I lived, where while the father there was able to, he had a stroke and was paralyzed on half of his body after some time that I lived there. But when he was able to, he would every Friday go and buy a treat and put it in the kitchen for when we came home from school. There were 5 of us foster kids that lived there at the time. And so he would have a treat for us, and oftentimes it was a donut, an apple fritter with a glass of milk. And so as I've been thinking of what positive can I include in these foster care information videos, it just dawned on me that that was a really great memory, to know that, hey, it's Friday and this is treat day. I wonder what he's got for us today. And so, as you try to restore some sense of normalcy and balance in these kids' lives, in these kids who have endured things that are not normal for children. Just little treats like this is something that you can do, some sort of consistent treat that they can look forward to, and it's an act of love, it's an act of care, and it's something that, like I said, I remember fondly. And so I was looking on Instagram for places to go and visit near where I live, and this Round Rock Donuts behind me came up. So I thought, I haven't had an apple fritter in a long time. So I came up today and I got myself an apple fritter, and it's just a great memory of being in foster care and feeling some sense of normalcy and feeling that care, So I wanted to extend that idea in this video, and whatever you can do to provide some sense of consistency and normalcy to give these kids like something they can share, because I do remember that I was a quiet kind of kid because I just didn't even know how to relate of what I had gone through, and hearing other kids talk about things, I was like, I don't even know how to relate to that, So, so this is something that's normal, right? Everybody eats donuts, and it's just something sweet and kind. And so, yeah, that's all. I just wanted to share this part of something positive in one of the foster homes where I lived. And there's also a correlation to inner child healing, which is something I've also spoken about on social media and such, that when you come from a childhood of trauma, and there's a whole range of things classified as traumas, right? But when you come from, I can only speak from my experience, there is inner child healing that needs to be done. There is reparenting, if you didn't have parents, that needs to be done. And I had glimpses of kindness in different foster homes, but the majority of it was just kind of like, almost like feral, there's a roof over your head and fend for yourself. But this is a good memory. This is something that did make me feel normal and made me feel like somebody cared. He cared to set these plates out and buy these apple fritters he bought were like almost as big as the paper plate. So that was it was something to look forward to. And so if you are an adult and inner child healing, taking care of the parts of you that were wounded in your youth and childhood, reparenting yourself, being kind to yourself, just remember these kind of treats too, because they're important as well. Anything that you can do to help that little part of you, that little part inside, feel loved and cared for and safe and normal, do more of those things. So, yeah. So I sat in a park too. That's another fond memory of childhood, was being outside and playing in parks. So just remember to do these kind things for yourself. If you're a foster parent or a caregiver to those that are at-risk youth or have been in the foster care system, I'm sure you already know any kind of sense of normalcy, consistency, kindness, and care is so important. And here I am, almost 57, and all this happened when I was like 15 or so, and it's still something that I hold dearly. So it will last them a lifetime.